The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning. It is 9:08 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. You can find a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, the videos to go with the audio, on my Twitter feed, at Chris Hand on Air. Don't forget, we got a big party. It's coming down so soon. September 10th, debate watch party, Scoreboard, Cedar Creek Marina. We want you out there. Brian's going to do his whole show live. Myself, Mandis, Murphy, the whole crew are going to be there to watch the debate with you.
It's going to be hype.
I can't wait. I'm big hype.
I'm so jealous.
What do you think the headlines are going to be after that debate?
Still sweeping Kamala off the floor. Get your mop out.
It feels like, you remember the movie The Campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis? Bring your brooms. It's a mess. Well, we're gonna find out what happens during the debate together. We definitely want you to join us again. Scoreboard, Cedar Creek Marina, Mount Juliet. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. It's always a blast, so we want you there. Don't forget, you can listen to us wherever you go with the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can watch us on Super Talk TV. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Hello. If you like my hat, it was limited edition. You can't get any more like it. So
tilt your head forward a little bit. Show it off a little bit.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, that looks good.
Nice hat.
Looks good.
Nice hat. All right. Do you want to do news?
I mean, do we have to?
I guess.
Is that like our job?
Is there something wrong with news?
Nothing's wrong with news.
Nothing's wrong with news.
Hold on. Whoa.
I guess. Not when Joan does it.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's nice.
It's when the other guys do it. We get a lot of fake news. We get a lot of fake news.
There you go.
Yeah.
We don't get fake news from Joan Jones.
I do my best.
She does. She does a great job.
You.
Yeah. She's Joan Jones is a welcome addition to the Chris Hand Show. We're excited to have her as part of the crew. So as we jump into things today, I guess we should start with 2024. Trump is pleading not guilty to new indictments. We knew that this was going to happen. The View had something funny to say yesterday. The View, everybody turns to The View for the latest cutting edge political analysis.
Yeah, that's interesting that they said something funny. I don't think I've ever laughed during that.
Well, see, I laugh. It's at them.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
It's at them. Alyssa Farah Griffin is one of the ones on The View. She's one of the ladies.
She is there.
She's there. And yesterday she said Kamala Harris is running a flawless campaign.
So there is no doubt that the momentum is on Kamala Harris's side right now. But I've been talking to a lot of pollsters, and I know how we feel about the polls. They say this: we live in such an era of polarization that she's running a flawless campaign. She could ride out on a Pegasus with bald eagles and a sword, and she's not going to pull 10 points ahead.
Okay. She's running a flawless campaign. It's not her fault that she's not 10 points ahead. The flawless campaign, I want to add, is just hiding her away, not allowing her to do any media interviews, kicking and screaming her way to a debate, trying to get rule changes, trying to get mics unmuted, trying to get notes, eventually agreeing to not having those things. But yeah, it's flawless. It's flawless. Her campaign is so flawless, in fact, that the Philadelphia Eagles have had to come out and say officially, we are not endorsing Kamala Harris. Have you seen this story? All around Philadelphia in bus stops, like bus stop waiting areas, they have the big advertising window that they'll put an ad in. There's been this ad from Kamala Harris popping up where she's in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, and it says something along the lines of the official candidate of the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, it turns out that it wasn't the Eagles doing that. They've had to come out and say, yeah, wasn't us, not our doing. Please don't think that was us. And one Philadelphia fan went out there with a glue stick and took the tweet of the Philadelphia Eagles saying that it wasn't them and decided to print it out 100 times and glue it over these ads all over the city, doing God's work.
All right, Joe, why are you doing this?
Well, this is a circumstance that's very concerning to me, Steve, because whoever put this inside this casing did several things. I'm a lifelong Philadelphia guy from South Philly. I love the Eagles, loyal to them to the end. I am a Republican, just to say that to you. But my concern here is that is not that someone is expressing an opinion, which everyone's entitled to do, but this person is lying to everyone that comes and uses this stuff.
The Philadelphia Eagles said that these were counterfeit political ads. This fan of the Philadelphia Eagles taking matters into his own hands, printing out the tweet of them saying that this wasn't us, the Eagles, and taping it all over the ad and gluing it over the ad on the Philadelphia bus stop. I don't know if that's as much a political thing as it is a sports thing. It's like, please don't sully my Eagles anymore. So he took matters into his own hands, and we thank him for that. I saw another article the other day that I wouldn't say blew my mind, but I was shocked that they printed it. DailyMail.com, shocking number of Biden-Harris officials lack key experience needed in area Americans are most concerned about. Damning report reveals. I thought this was common knowledge that they didn't have much experience where Americans need it. But a new report reveals a wide majority of officials in the Biden-Harris administration have scarcely any business experience, including Vice President Kamala Harris, who is obviously now the nominee. The report was conducted by economists Stephen Moore and John Decker for the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. They analyzed the resumes of 66 top officials in the administration who deal with economic policy, regulation, commerce, energy, and finance, and 58% have virtually no business experience. They're hiring people that aren't qualified for the job. According to this report, 58% have virtually no business experience. Again, these are the resumes of 66 top officials who deal with economic policy, regulation, commerce, energy, and finance. Is this who you want running your country, America? Only 12% of these officials have extensive business experience, and 30% have some. The report, subtitled Amateur Hour, unveils a critical weakness on the Biden-Harris team, as it argues there is a correlation between the lack of business experience and the 4 years of bad economic news under Biden-Harris. The Committee to Unleash Prosperity works to promote public policies that boost economic prosperity, including supply-side economics. And the report also flags Harris advisors lacking business credentials, which they argue is part of the reason her policy agenda is so radical. It's not a shocker that they have no experience. We've been watching this unveiled in front of our eyes for the last 3.5 years. Biden actually sat down and gave remarks yesterday at an event called Investing in America. And he's supposed to come out there and calm our fears and give us hope and give us, just some good old-fashioned good vibes, good energy on the economy. So they introduced Biden, and he walks out, and it was already off to a bad start. Listen to how long it took Joe Biden to walk out of a side door and make his way to a table to sit down.
Folks,
He's just walking across the stage. And then he says, "Ready."
We're ready.
Took him right around 20, 25 seconds to make his way across the stage via heavy breathing to then say, "Oh, we're ready." So it was already off to a bad start. You're not exactly instilling us with hope.
All right, we're going in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And they say, "All right, we're rolling in 5, 4, 3, 2." It's a movie set with this guy. Lots of edits. But Biden kicked things off, highlighting when it comes to the economy and investing in America, we're just getting started.
That's what's being highlighted. We're doing that today to highlight and show we're just getting started.
Oh, not off to a good start. If you're keeping score at home, 20 seconds to make his way across the stage via heavy breathing to sit down, and then this flub.
That's what's being highlighted. We're doing that today to highlight and show we're just getting started.
Who's running the country? Honestly, the guy's been at the beach for how many weeks, and then he comes back. He can barely make it across the stage. It's downright terrifying. It actually gives me worry for the nation. Who's in charge? Who's in charge? And after he gets through his flubs and he finally is sitting down, well, then he starts saying that we have the strongest economy in the world and pushing job loss.
COVID no longer controls our lives. We've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the world, literally. A record 16 million new jobs, record small business growth, record stock market, record high 401ks, wages are up, inflation is down, way down, and continuing to come down, and the smallest racial wealth gap in 20 years.
Inflation's way down. It's going to come down. It's continuing to come down. Let me say down, down, down. That's inflation. And 16 million jobs is, well, that's, I wish we had the Maury Povich line. The lie detector determined that was a lie. They created 6 million jobs. 6. It's a big difference. I know they're used to revising these job numbers, but that's a big difference. Edward Lawrence of Fox Business really highlighted these Biden and Kamala Harris job creation lies yesterday.
Polls are showing the economy the number one issue for Americans. The last jobs report showed extreme weakness going forward. Now, the Federal Reserve Chairman says that the risk to jobs now outweighs the risk of inflation. But we hear President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris say this.
4 years later, there's still more to do. We had one of the most extraordinary periods of progress ever in history of this country. COVID no longer controls our lives. We've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the world, literally. A record 16 million new jobs, record small business growth.
So, however, a post on X over the weekend, the president's official page got it right in this one post, then went back to misleading Americans 3 hours later in a second post. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the economy added back all the jobs from the pandemic and created 6.4 million jobs, not 16 million jobs.
10 million is a big difference. But as Edward Lawrence said, the economy is one of the biggest issues for voters. And as we pointed out in this Daily Mail article, nobody in the Biden-Harris administration seems to have any business experience when it comes to the economy, when it comes to economic policy, regulation, commerce, energy, and finance. They just don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. Oh, and then at the end of Biden's Investing in America event, they shouted at him for over a minute, as his handlers herded the press out of the room.
God protect our troops.
President Biden.
And they just keep yelling at him that he doesn't answer anything. He sits there at the desk with a blank stare, wondering, I can only assume, how did I get here? That's the look that he has on his face, and many of Americans feel the exact same way. How did we get here? They're still shouting questions, by the way.
Support free IVF for parents.
It's a good minute. the state of the country. Yikes. On the way, I want to bring you some audio from Donald J. Trump. He sat down for another extensive podcast with Lex Friedman, and it was a good one. We'll bring that to you next. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Still to come here on WTN, charged as a Chinese spy, an assistant to New York's Democrat governor, and a couple of local TikTokers go all out to find a missing Nashville area teenager. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Never underestimate motivated TikTokers. That's,
absolutely.
That's something I've been learning. But wasn't it a TikToker that found the debit card of the young man that went missing down there? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody saw it like on a chain and posted about it, and they
drawn a blank on his name.
I love that.
I can't remember.
Can't remember his name. Somebody on the super text line will remind me.
Yeah, for sure.
But I remember the story. It's wild. So it is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We were just talking about the lack of experience in the Biden-Harris administration. Not a shock. Not a shock at all, actually. Donald Trump giving more interviews. Also, not a shock. He sat down with Lex Friedman. Have you ever watched Lex Friedman, Mason? You do that? You know who he is now?
I know that name. Hold on.
He's definitely like a middle of the road guy. He says, Trump is not a fascist, but he also doesn't think Kamala Harris is a communist.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He's got I don't know the best way to put it. It feels like the weaponized autism vibes. You know what I mean? Like
he's
just
very
like
even.
Yes, but he's laser smart. Super smart guy. So Trump sat down with him, and he said what we're all thinking about Kamala Harris. Up until 6 weeks ago, she was a joke.
The whole presidential thing was taken over in a coup. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes, not one. And nobody thought it was going to be her. Nobody wanted it to be her. She was a joke until 6 weeks ago when they said we're going to have to, politically, they felt they had to pick her.
She was a joke until 6 weeks ago. An absolute joke. Yeah, they had to pick her. You couldn't skip over the black woman in line, right? Especially when you're playing identity politics on the left. You weren't allowed to do it. And then there was the whole issue about the money. Follow the money, right? But 6 weeks ago, she was a joke. And he also made the comment on the interview that happened on CNN. Remember the interview, the one they had a countdown clock for and everything? He felt similar to what Scott Jennings on CNN felt. Weak sauce.
And I believe that she'll be probably worse than Biden. I watched the interview the other night. I mean, it was just a softball interview.
So you would like to see her do more interviews, challenged more?
I don't know. I can't believe the whole thing is happening. We had a man in there that should have never been in there. They kept him in a basement. They used COVID. They cheated, but they used COVID to cheat. And they cheated without COVID too. But you had somebody in there, and now we have a woman that is not, she couldn't do an interview. This was a really soft interview. This is an interview where they're giving her multiple choice questions, multiple guess. I call it multiple guess. And I don't think she did well. I think she did very poorly.
I don't think she did well. They gave her multiple guess. Multiple guess. They covered a wide range of topics during this interview with Donald J. Trump. They talked about Project 2025. They talked about possibly releasing intel on UFOs, and they even brought up the Epstein client list. That's what you want to hear. Now, this was released less than 24 hours ago, already has 2.8 million views. And again, I have to stress, this audience is definitely middle of the road. 100%. I would guarantee that there are more RFK bros in Lex Friedman's audience than there are Trumpers.
And he's also choosing who he is interviewed by very particularly, and I would say it's a very smart move because I just found out Lex Friedman's IQ is estimated to be 135, which is in the highest percentile or higher end of the percentile for IQs, which means he is incredibly smart. I didn't realize how high, where he sat. So Trump is not only being interviewed by intellectuals, but people who understand what is actually going on.
100%.
And it's such a smart move.
When I said weaponized autism, I meant that as a true compliment.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
I wish that I had some of this weaponized autism. These guys are so smart. But he's doing it. You're right. He's sitting down with Lex Friedman. He's sitting down with Theo Vaughn. He's crossing the aisle, going in different directions, and meeting people where they are, something Kamala Harris has no idea how to do. I'll bring you more from this interview with Lex Friedman. It's going to blow your mind. That happens next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey there, it's 9:30 and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. More clouds than sun and 86 degrees later today. The full forecast in a couple of minutes. The former deputy chief of staff to New York Governor Kathy Hochul is now facing federal charges. Linda Sun accused officially this morning of being paid millions by the Chinese government to act on its behalf. We get more from ABC's Aaron Katursky.
In exchange, Sun allegedly took millions of dollars in kickbacks, and her husband, Chris Hu, is charged with laundering the money, enabling the couple to buy a $3.5 million home on Long Island. The FBI raided the place in July. There's also a $2 million condo in Honolulu, a brand new Ferrari, event tickets, travel benefits, and a special delivery of Nanjing-style duck prepared by a Chinese government official's personal chef.
Both Linda Sun and her husband pleaded not guilty this morning. New Mexico is claiming a small victory in its fight against groups that profit from the smuggling of illegal aliens into the country. ABC's Jim Ryan.
Targeted enforcement over a 12-day period last month brought down 33 so-called stash houses and took 91 migrants out of the hands of human traffickers. Bernalillo County District Attorney Sam Bregman says it was called Operation Disruption for a reason.
Our goal is to disrupt the cartels and let them know that New Mexico is not open for business.
The enforcement effort was focused on a section of the state where migrant deaths are most common.
A couple of local TikTok users are raising money to help find a Sumner County autistic teenager. Fox 17 reports those two TikTokers have raised now $22,000 to put up billboards nationwide featuring a picture of Sebastian Rogers, who vanished in February. Those billboards will also announce the $50,000 reward for anyone who finds him. The TikTokers say so far they've selected 104 billboards for their effort. That's the latest news. Weather's next. Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
And I watched the interview the other night. I mean, it was just a softball interview.
So you would like to see her do more interviews, challenged more?
I don't know. I can't believe the whole thing is happening. We had a man in there that should have never been in there. They kept him in a basement. They used COVID. They cheated, but they used COVID to cheat. They cheated without COVID too. But you had somebody in there, and now we have a woman that is not, I mean, she couldn't do an interview. This was a really soft interview. This is an interview where they're giving her multiple choice questions, multiple guesses. I call it multiple guess. And I don't think she did well. I think she did very poorly.
That was Donald J. Trump on the Lex Friedman podcast. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So they released this podcast episode less than 24 hours ago. It's got almost 3 million views. It's a big look. He's definitely going for middle of the road, independent thinkers, independent voters. And people are big mad. People are big mad. 4559 said, text it. 4559 is one of those, the hate listeners. Say, glad you're playing the audio from Trump's latest interview. Wow, Trump sounds very old, very tired, sad. I said, well, I would have played the audio from the latest Kamala interview, but that was like a week ago now. You know, she doesn't do any. By design, I also said, call in, be part of the show. And I got a crying, laughing face and a, hey, Chris, we're not going back. So I sent a GIF. I sent GIFs. It's a woman shaking her head, and she says, kind of sounds like you're scared. So I was saying this off the air. I was like, maybe if the liberals don't want to call in, maybe we should just start calling them.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think we should just call them?
Yeah, start lining them up.
You should.
We're going to fill up our own phone lines to talk to you.
Yeah, we're going to call you if you keep messing around on my text line. 4559. Maybe you should try and get him on the line.
I'll look it up.
Do it.
I'll look it up.
You should actually try and call him. We're not going back. Like, what don't you want to go back to?
Yeah, talk to us.
Cheap gas, mean tweets, economic prosperity, being respected around the world, a secure border. We're not going back. Okay. All right. They just texted again.
Oh, what'd they say?
Never afraid to defeat evil, delusional, malignant, narcissist, traitor, convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, Don the Con. Can't wait to see him flush down the toilet. You're scared to call in. You're scared. Todd texted in. He said, y'all can call me. Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
The show starts at 9, Todd. I don't know if you were here on time, but just a reminder.
We're here for you.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back to prosperity. You don't want to go back to being respected around the world. I understand. I understand that kind of stuff isn't for everyone. Mostly just the patriotic Americans. I understand that the liberals are afraid of Donald J. Trump and what he's going to do. Oh my gosh, the orange man. I understand. The big fear is Project 2025. Oh my gosh, Project 2025. Have you heard? Have you heard how evil this Donald Trump plan is? Well, he actually disavowed it again. He disavowed it again on the Lex Friedman podcast.
2025. Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to Project
Nothing. I know nothing about it. And they know that too. Democrats know that. And I purposely haven't read it because I want to say to you, I have no idea what it's all about. It's easier than saying I read it and, all of the things. No, I purposely haven't read it. And I've heard about it. I've heard about things that are in there that I don't like. And there's some things in there that everybody would like. But there are things that I don't like at all. And I think it's unfortunate that they put it out, but it doesn't mean anything because it has nothing to do with me. Project 25 has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Is that enough for the radical left? Is that enough disavowing? Does he need to disavow it a million more times the same way he needs to continue disavowing, white nationalists? Does he need to do it every time he hits a mic? Probably. They won't accept this. I got a good text here from 53. Said, offer 4559 a VIP section at the debate party as well. We should. I want to get velvet ropes, and I want to have, just liberals love their safe spaces, right? I think that we've all figured that out. They love their safe zones, their crying corners, and we should have one of those. We should be inclusive. And I want to have a safe space for any liberal that wants to join us at Scoreboard in Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet for the debate watch party. 4559, you are absolutely welcome to join us at our debate watch party in Mount Juliet at Scoreboard Cedar Creek. We want you there. Please come. I would love to see your reaction in real time to what Donald Trump is about to do. I want to see it. I can't wait till he brings up things like the border. He brought it up on the Lex Friedman podcast. There's an invasion going on our border, 4559.
We have coming into our country right now millions and millions of people at levels that nobody's ever seen. I don't believe any country's ever seen it. And they would use sticks and stones not to make it happen, not to let it happen. We don't do anything. And we have a person who was the border czar, who now said she wasn't really the border czar, but she was. She was the border czar, but she was in charge of the border. And we have her, and she's saying very strongly, oh, I did such a good job. She was horrible. The harm she's done. But we have people coming in from other countries all over the world, not just South America.
Yep.
And they're coming in from prisons and jails. They're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. And they're street criminals. Right off the street, they take them. And they're being given to our country, drug dealers, human traffickers. We're destroying our country.
He's not wrong, but it's the Democrat strategy, right? Import the vote. That's what they want to do. And there's actually been more developments on the southern border in recent days. The latest development between the Biden-Harris administration and the government of Mexico on the immigration front is actually going to see these illegal aliens, the migrants, they're going to be provided buses from 2 southern Mexico cities to the United States border. See, when Trump was in office, Mexico actually agreed to keep the migrants as they awaited their asylum hearing. Under Biden-Harris, they get buses straight to the U.S. southern border. Unbelievable. The government of Mexico's National Institute of Migration announced the new program in a Spanish language notice issued on Saturday, referring to the initiative as the Secure Emerging Mobility Corridor. That doesn't sound like something I like at all. The Secure Emerging Mobility Corridor. The 2 departure cities in southern Mexico will be Villahermosa, Tabasco, and Tapachula, Chiapas. I think I did that pretty good, actually. So they're going to be busing them. And this new transportation program will allow authorities in Mexico to manage better the flow of migrants traveling into the country's interior by scheduling free travel services to get them to the United States border. I mean, nothing is free. We're going to be paying for it. And it's all scheduled under that CBP One app. We've heard a lot about the CBP One app. This is another one of those. The Biden-Harris CBP One asylum application. They'll be, signing up for their bus ticket, and then the migrants are not required to pass a credible fear interview, which is usually the first step in an asylum claim, but they just get a bus ticket, and they get shipped right up to the southern border. The program's announcement comes a week after authorities with Mexico's INM and the Biden-Harris administration representatives met in Mexico to expand the geographic region in Mexico where migrants can request CBP-1 asylum appointments. They're expanding it. They're making it better. They're making it better. For who? For all the illegal aliens that are pouring out of prisons and being sent to America. The program had restricted access to schedule appointments in central and northern Mexico until last week. Now, you'll be able to get appointments in southern Mexico and then a bus ride. Is this fixing it? I think according to the left and to liberals, this is fixing it. The program may face challenges due to the difficulty some migrants experience dealing with cartel violence and the lack of job opportunities in southern Mexico as they maneuver through the CBP-1 application, attempting to receive an appointment. Many migrants leave those border cities in southern Mexico for larger central Mexican cities such as Mexico City, where there are more job opportunities. So that they're helping them out. They left their country to seek asylum. They found themselves in a cartel-controlled southern portion of Mexico, and now we have to help them, or we're heartless, right? We have to help everyone, or we don't have a heart. That's the leftist way of doing things. Unreal. Not surprising, but unreal. So that's the invasion at our southern border. We actually already have a lot of illegal aliens here. We're witnessing that in Aurora, Colorado. Donald Trump brought up Aurora, Colorado in his Lex Friedman interview.
You saw in Aurora, Colorado, a group of very tough young thugs from Venezuela taking over big areas, including buildings. They're taking over buildings. They have their big rifles, but they're taking over buildings. We're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. And in those countries, crime is way down. They're taking them out of their prisons, which is good because good for them. I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't.
He said, I'd do the same thing, actually, if I was running those countries. It reminds me of the debate with Hillary. We do have the debate party coming up on September 10th, so I've been watching a lot of old footage. But do you remember the debate with Hillary where she's like, Donald Trump doesn't pay his taxes? And he's like, yeah, I use the same tax breaks that your friends use. And you've been in government for how long and you haven't changed it, and you won't because that's your donors and that's your friends. Yes, I know the system's corrupt because I use that same system. That's what this quote reminded me of.
I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't.
I can't believe they're going so slowly. Some aren't. Some aren't. It's funny to hear him say it. Terrifying in reality. Terrifying for the people in Aurora, Colorado. Our friend Savannah Hernandez has actually been on the ground in Aurora, Colorado, reporting, doing what reporters do, going to the scene and investigating. I'll bring you some of her relevant audio that she's put out on social media, and we're going to try and get her on the show tomorrow. She's actually going to be talking to residents in Aurora, Colorado today. So she went to one of these protests at these apartment complexes. How did they greet Savannah Hernandez? Not nice. They followed her around. They threatened her. Just the usual dealings that she's accommodated with whenever she goes to report on a story. I'll bring you what happened to Savannah Hernandez in Aurora, Colorado on the way. Plus, there's more in this Lex Friedman interview that we need to get to. A lot more. UFOs, the Epstein list, and are you afraid of death? More with Donald Trump on the way. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friends at Busy Bee. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It's September now, and they got another great BOGO offer for the Beehive Club. This one may be my favorite because you're going to be able to take care of somebody that you love in your life. Now through the end of September, now through the end of September, buy one, get one on the Beehive Club membership for grandparents. Yeah, your grandparents. Take care of your grandparents. The Beehive Club membership comes with so much value. It's only $99, and you get 3 annual tune-ups. One for your cooling, one for your heating, one for your plumbing. 10% discount on all repairs. Priority front-of-the-line service. A $100 annual accrued replacement credit, and no overtime or holiday fees. Again, this is only $99, and when you buy one, you get one in the month of September. So Grandma doesn't have to wait when her AC goes out. Grandma doesn't have to deal with her AC going out because you're going to have that preventative maintenance. Call my friends at Busy Bee today. They're your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. It's Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. Online at busybehvac.com.
Up ahead here on 99.7 WTN, another ceasefire deal for Israel, and it's coming from Washington, D.C. We'll tell you why you won't find any Lebanon police officers on official duty today. Those stories coming up at 10 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It is 9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So our friend Savannah Hernandez, when she catches a story, she goes to the source. So she's actually in Aurora, Colorado. She was there yesterday covering some protests about what's happening in the apartment complexes. And as she goes up to the apartment complexes to cover this protest, she's confronted by a few, I don't know, what's the nice way to put it? Commies? I would say commies.
Unsavory residents.
Unsavory. That's much nicer. She's confronted by these commies. So they confront her, and they don't like her reporting on the news.
Themselves at risk, talking to a right-wing.
Okay, so I'm putting people at risk because I work for Turning Point USA. I was standing here, and I've been trying to report on the migrant hotel here, and I've had these two come up to me. This guy's been pretty nice, actually. These two come up to me, police my language, tell me I'm not nice, tell me that I need to leave because my words are harmful.
Your words are too harmful, Savannah. You can't be doing stuff like that. Also, when she says, this guy's been pretty nice, he flips off the camera. So
nice.
He's like, don't say that about me.
Glad they're welcoming.
They are. And I'll play you the rest of what Savannah Hernandez had to say from her experience in Aurora, Colorado, as she's confronted by unsavory commies. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello there, it's 10 o'clock and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A warm and cloudy day today. Right now it's 74. We're headed up to 86. The full forecast in a couple of minutes. Protests continue in Israel today after 6 hostages were murdered by Hamas last weekend, just as IDF forces closed in to rescue them. Meantime, another ceasefire deal is being drafted here in the U.S.
But one of the major obstacles is Israel's refusal to fully withdraw its troops from Gaza's border with Egypt. But a new draft of the U.S. bridging proposal is expected to be presented to all of the sides in the coming days.
ABC's Marcus Moore there. He says President Biden is involved in the negotiations. Well, a surprise claim about those so-called Secret Service agents protecting former President Trump the day he was nearly killed in Pennsylvania.
Most of the agents who were there at that rally in Butler were not Secret Service agents. They were, in fact, Homeland Security agents.
That's Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who tells Jesse Waters Primetime on Fox last night that more whistleblowers have come forward to tell him Homeland Security agents received just 2 hours of training on a webinar that was plagued by audio issues. Hawley says he's looking into it. Well, here in Nashville, City Council passed a couple of proposals that they say change protesting in the city. And those proposals are on their first reading now. Metro Council member Tom Cash telling Channel 4 that changes were necessary.
We received a lot of concerns about the hate groups and their activities, both the ones who marched downtown several times, as well as hate propaganda that's being distributed and thrown in people's yards.
Some residents showed up last night to speak out against the limits on where they can protest and restrictions on flyers being passed out to residents. They say the new proposals limit free speech. Council has 2 more readings to pass the ordinance before they become law. Neighbors in one Antioch neighborhood say street racers are destroying their community.
When they come around the corner, we heard them squeal the tires, but then we heard the brrr with the gun. And we almost went in the floor because I heard it hit my house.
A couple of bullets left holes in that man's home earlier this summer. Mailboxes and fences have been run down too. He says Metro Nashville police have been called, but they don't respond. Wilson County Sheriff's officers are picking up patrol duty today for the Lebanon County Police Department, so officers there can attend the funeral for Lebanon police officer Brendan Myers, who was killed in a motorcycle crash on Tuesday. Deputies say there will be enough officers covering, so response times won't be affected. Stocks are running a bit higher now. Dow Jones is up 218 points. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. You can listen to us wherever you go. iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or the 99.7 WTN app. I'm sure you heard Mandis this morning. He's got people listening all over the country. We do too. It's my mom and dad. But they're
listening.
They're far away. They're far away.
They're not all in Tennessee.
And if you missed anything, you can always catch it on the podcast on Apple and Spotify. We have a big debate watch party coming up on September 10th. And I put Mason on the task to call one of our favorite hate texters, 4559.
Yeah.
Not just to invite them to the party,
but to talk to us on the air.
Yeah, talk to us on the air. Did you have any luck getting them on the line?
Unfortunately not. I went to call them, and it turns out they're going out to brunch.
It's convenient.
A little bit.
It's convenient how that happens.
What do you think they're getting?
Nothing. I think 4559, if you're listening, I think I think brunch was a lie.
I don't know. If they're being paid by Kamala to talk about them, they might have a little change in their pocket.
This is true. Have you been paid to go to a Kamala Harris rally? Have you been paid to do a TikTok dance?
How many posts did you have to make?
Yeah, seriously. These are questions we want to know. So we don't know. 4559 probably is not going to come to the debate party. But we're still working on a liberal safe zone, VIP section with velvet ropes.
Oh, absolutely. Invites are all welcome and will eternally be extended.
Any liberal that wants to come to our debate watch party, I will find velvet ropes and cordon you off a safe space.
That way you don't have to worry about constantly mingling with the correct crowd.
You don't have to deal with it. You can just be off in your zone, no mean tweets, and safety.
Don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, it'll be perfect. All right, so we were talking about Aurora, Colorado. Donald Trump mentioned it in his interview with Lex Friedman, and that brought us over to Savannah Hernandez. This is Donald Trump talking to Lex Friedman about Aurora, Colorado.
You saw an Aurora, Colorado, a group of very tough young thugs from Venezuela taking over big areas, including buildings. They're taking over buildings. They have their big rifles, but they're taking over buildings. We're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. And you know, in those countries, crime is way down. They're taking them out of their prisons, which is good because good for them. I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't.
I think that is just true Donald Trump. Hey, if it was me and I was running these countries, I would send them too. Currently, our friend Savannah Hernandez is in Aurora, Colorado. She goes to the source when she's doing her reporting. She's one of the best, at @Sav_says, SAVSAYS on Twitter. And she's in Aurora, Colorado. Yesterday, she was at a protest that migrants were holding at the apartment complex that that has been taken over in Aurora by Tren de Aragua. They state at this protest that this was the first time that this has happened and that it's other people from this country that have tried to break into their apartments. The illegal aliens that are outside this apartment complex are holding signs reading, "Stop lying, they aren't gangs," and "Stop slumlords now." So the people living there that could be illegal aliens, could be members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua, are holding a protest saying, no, it's not that. It's not that. So when Savannah Hernandez went down there to cover these protests to report on this story, she gets confronted by a couple individuals who aren't happy that she's there to do reporting. They recognized her from her reporting at the DNC.
At risk, talking to a right-wing.
Okay, so I'm putting people at risk because I work for Turning Point USA. I was standing here and I've been trying to report on the migrant hotel here, and I've had these two come up to me. This guy's been pretty nice, actually. These two come up to me, police my language, tell me I'm not nice, tell me that I need to leave because my words are harmful.
Her words are harmful. Don't worry. She's heard all of this before. Don't worry. The people that surrounded her weren't physically intimidating. Sav doesn't scare easy. She was in a crowd full of Antifa members just a week ago and much more dangerous, I would argue. But she gets surrounded by these people. Surrounded. Why? Because she has the audacity to go down there and see what's happening for herself.
No one said that you were not nice. I think what happened is you found that your narrative was not sticking.
So everybody has seen how I've reported on this, and you guys said, you guys can go on my Twitter account, and they have no idea what I reported.
It was great to meet you, dear.
She's calling me the wrong name because she's extremely rude. She didn't like my reporting from the DNC. She doesn't like that I say Kamala instead of Kamala. Again, she's so irrelevant that nobody even knows how to pronounce her name correctly.
All right, so Sav kind of goes on a divergent path there and begins trolling the people that are surrounding her by mispronouncing.
Sav goes savage.
She does. Yeah. She starts trolling them in real time, saying Kamala and Kamala. It's great. But if you look at her reporting on Twitter, Sav_says she does. She covers that protest completely authentically. She says that they're stating that there are no gangs and criminals in the area. She says that the protests are saying the city is racist and discriminating against them and not renovating their apartment complex, that they're trying to move the conversation to slumlords and away from Tren de Aragua. She's covered all this on Twitter. They're still mad that she's there.
And so this woman's been just walking around bullying people. It is what it is. Welcome to trying to actually report on real stories if you don't have the correct narrative regarding what's going on here. What's going on here is you have illegal immigrants in this area that are living here, and you have homeless in Denver that are being completely ignored. So the issue here is that there's a housing crisis in America right now. There's homeless Americans, and the entire city is focusing in on covering up this issue, and then you have people like this that come and shut me down because I'm reporting what's actually going on. So there you guys go. They're bullies. She's with Brother Jeff. I don't know who that is. I was standing here not even speaking to them, and then they came up to me and started yelling at me. So goes life.
So goes life. So Sav is going to be focusing her reporting today on residents in the area. She didn't get too far with the illegal aliens that were there. So she's down there today talking to residents. And she actually spoke with a communist leader in the area who organized that migrant protest. She's the same woman who instructed migrants to live in an encampment under a bridge in protest of Denver's shelter system back in May. And she caught up with her and had this discussion.
The camp as a collective came up with a list of demands.
That came after a petition by city officials for migrants to move from this encampment near train tracks under a bridge to indoor shelters funded by the city.
This morning, they sent buses to take people over without presenting that document and without having any kind of signature for accountability.
This group is called the East Colfax Community Collective. And they were the communist group behind the migrant protest in Aurora that Savannah Hernandez was covering. And apparently this communist leader who goes by the name V, just V for Vendetta, I guess. She said that Sav would be receiving a cease and desist letter because she reported on their public protest today without consent. To which Sav wrote, LOL, okay. They're not happy that she's down there. They're not happy one bit. So she's going to be down there again today. She's going to continue reporting with Turning Point USA and Frontlines. Commies be damned. And she's going to talk with the residents today in Aurora, Colorado. Because the migrants and the communist community members who put together that protest yesterday, they're saying Tren de Aragua isn't an issue. But Savannah Hernandez, as she's doing her reporting, doing her due diligence, is walking around these apartment complexes and saying the bullet holes in the buildings tell a different story.
All right, y'all. So we are outside of that apartment complex that has been in the news all week for allegedly being overrun by Tren de Aragua. Now, the East Colfax Community Collective, which is a communist-aligned group, was saying that actually this area is completely safe, that there's no gang members. This, of course, comes after the city is calling to evict people out of this building and shut it down because of the violence. Now, the migrants are saying the area is safe, that there's no gang members at all. The communist group saying the exact same thing, but we're surveilling the area, and as you guys can see, the actual building has bullet holes. Okay, this bullet hole actually goes all the way through to the other side. We were able to tour the area. There's multiple broken windows as well. So it seems like the building is telling a different story, and we are going to try to talk to residents in the area because I have seen differing narratives surrounding this specific apartment complex and Tren de Aragua.
So the building tells a different story, Savannah Hernandez says, and you can find the videos on her page at Sav_says. I've reposted them on my page at Chris Hand on Air. If you want to go find those, hit the follow button while you're there. But you're going to talk to residents today because the commies and the migrants are trying to shift the narrative to something that it's not. I got off on this tangent because Donald Trump was talking about Aurora, Colorado in the interview that he did with Lex Friedman. And in perfect Trump fashion, he said, if I was running these countries, I'd be sending my criminals and my gang members to America too.
I do the same thing. By the way, if I ran one of those countries, any country in the world, I would make sure that America has every one of our prisoners. Every one of our criminals would be here. I can't believe they're going so slowly, but some aren't. But they all are doing it. And we can't let that happen. They're emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions into the United States of America. We can't let that happen.
No, we can't let it happen. Donald Trump wants to do mass deportations and secure the border, and that's the way to go. It wasn't the only thing he talked about. They actually talked about a myriad of topics. It's a great interview, well worth the listen. Almost 2 million people have tuned into it so far. Almost 3, excuse me. And you can see why with this conversation. One of the things that came up was UFOs. UFOs. Will you declassify any information on UFO? And I think that the important takeaway isn't what he says about UFOs. It's what he says at the end of this clip here.
So a lot of people want to know, will you help push the Pentagon to release more footage, which a lot of people claim is available?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll do that. I would do that. I'd love to do that. I have to do that. But they also are pushing me on Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And I did release a lot, but I had people come to me and beg me not to do it. But I'll be doing that very early on. But I would do that.
Did you catch the big takeaway that I had there? The big takeaway that I took from that is essentially Donald J. Trump confirms what Robert F. Kennedy said on the Tucker Carlson podcast, that Mike Pompeo begged him to not release the Kennedy documents. I know they're talking about UFOs, and some people have gotten hung up on that. I don't really care about UFOs. That's just, I don't know. I have all sorts of differing opinions on that subject. But when it comes to the Kennedy documents, what he says is he confirms what RFK said. Mike Pompeo went to Donald Trump and begged him not to release those documents.
But I had people come to me and beg me not to do it.
Beg me. They begged me not to do it. So when RFK said it to Tucker Carlson, he was absolutely right. Mike Pompeo is a slime ball. I think that's well documented at this point. Well documented. And if you're wondering why we don't have answers on the JFK assassination.
But I had people come to me and beg me not to do it.
You can blame one man. That's Mike Pompeo. Without a doubt, you can blame Mike Pompeo. What about the Epstein list? Donald Trump was asked point blank if he would release the Epstein client list. His answer was a little bit surprising. He seemed to dance around the issue before getting to his final place. I'll play you that clip on the way. It's well worth your time to stick around and listen. What does Donald Trump think about releasing the Epstein client list? We'll do that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You hear a lot about the reporting of what's going on in Aurora, and it's scary, and you don't have to be scared. But what you do need to do is take your own personal protection, your own personal safety into your own hands. The guys you need to do it with are over at the Glock store. Now, I've been training there. I have a monthly training session set up. I love training there because every session is a private lesson in a private room without lanes. I've learned more in my sessions at the Glock store than any lane range put together, and you can do the exact same thing. Now, maybe you don't want to go alone. Maybe you're too nervous. Well, it's actually perfect timing because the Glock store is now offering parties. So maybe you want to get your church group together and head down to the Glock store for some group training and throw a little shindig, throw a little party. Well, do it at the Glock store and give them a call. Let them know how many people you want to bring and what you want to do, and they'll come up with a perfect plan for you. It could be any kind of party. It doesn't just have to be your church group. It could be a birthday, retirement, or corporate team building. But call the Glock store today and let them know that you want to do this, and they'll get right back to you with a perfectly tailored party plan. The Glock store is my place to shoot, everyone's place to party. Call them today, plan your party. 615-682-6565. That's 615-682-6565. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Coming up here on 99.7 WTN, is Russia working against Kamala Harris? The DOJ thinks so. And another big American company walks back its woke policies. Those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you say Russia?
I said Russia.
Is Russia in the room with them right now? Joan Jones on the way with news at 10:30 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've just gotten to this point where Russia, I'm just like, oh yeah, all right, whatever. It's like this boogeyman. It's Russia. Russia.
I don't know. They don't fear us like they used to, and that still has an air of uneasiness in my stomach for sure.
I would just point out, whose fault is that?
Oh yeah.
Whose fault is that? And will they respect us and fear us more if Kamala Harris gets the office? Doubtful. All right, so I wanted to play this Epstein list thing from Donald Trump, but real quick, somebody asked, we're talking about Aurora, Colorado, on the text line 9496 said, is it rumor or fact that the Hells Angels are going to Aurora, Colorado to help out our citizens? I think that's been pretty much debunked. I've seen like videos of the Hells Angels rolling out, and then the community notes on Twitter say, no, they're going to Milwaukee.
Interesting.
So I don't see the Hells Angels stepping in to do anything. Although there was one viral video of a guy who had a lot of face tattoos, claimed to be a gang member, rolling up in Aurora at those apartment complexes. Have you seen that one going viral? So at the beginning of this, I was like, okay, well, it's the middle of the day, and you're just kind of starting grief. So I didn't think it was too serious. But then towards the end of it, I said, well, maybe he is serious.
Came down here to the Lowry Apartments, ran into Big Mod.
For sure, Big Mod 29. Y'all know what it is?
Yeah, we down here for the same reasons. Right here. Dallas and 12th. The Lowry Apartments, we're down here to chase these Venezuelans off. Look, we got another one right here. What's up, bro? Look, we're down here to take our country back.
We ready, homie. Ain't no question. We ready out here.
So they're saying that they're gang members and they're down there because they're taking the country back. And I was like, okay, but it's the middle of the day. So, all jokes aside, it's very easy to act tough at 9:45 in the morning. So I wasn't taking this too seriously. But then towards the end of the video, he actually gets a bullhorn and starts rolling through the apartment complexes, shouting at them from the window.
Yeah. What's your name, bro? I'm Big Ma, bro.
Yeah, we down here. America's back down to take this shit back.
So then it shows him in his car with the horn.
Venezuelan gangs. We're here to chase you off. This is our communities. You want to see what gang violence is? We invented gang violence.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe he's about that life. I'm not sure. But it is kind of wild to watch a guy hanging out a car window, rolling through an apartment complex that's been allegedly taken over by Venezuelan gang members with a megaphone leaning out the window saying, we invented gang violence. Then I was like, okay, well, maybe he means it. Maybe. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of weird that you feel like you support this guy? Like, I'm behind him.
Yeah. He's
a gangbanger, and I'm behind him.
We need to support America first, and that includes the gangs, I guess.
Yeah.
You want to see what gang violence is? We invented gang violence.
Oh, yikes. Once I heard that, I was like, okay, I think he's actually a little bit more serious. So, no on the Hells Angels, yes on the crazy guy just running around there with head tattoos. Cool? Everybody keeping score at home?
I got the tally in here.
All right, keep the tally rolling. I want to get back to I can't because we got to do bottom of the hour news. This is what happens. I get off on tangents. We'll do Donald Trump and the Epstein list next. Right now, Joan Jones with the news on Super Talk.
10:30 now, and I am Joan Jones with your top stories. On the cloudy side, 86 this afternoon. We're looking at 78 in clouds right now. The Biden administration says it is going to hit Russia with sanctions for what it says are Russian government-sponsored attempts to manipulate U.S. public opinion ahead of the November election. The director of national intelligence saying the Russian media company called RT is doing its best to undermine support for Kamala Harris and American support for arming Ukraine. Well, Nashville Metro City Council voted yes in the first of 3 votes on changes to how people can protest in the city. 4 changes proposed by Mayor Freddie O'Connell, including creating buffer zones around public buildings and parking lots where protesting won't be allowed. Some residents think that could be a problem.
I want to know what that buffer zone is because that can affect protesters, it can affect striking laborers, it can affect a lot of other people besides who they're saying that they're targeting right now.
Other proposals ban face masks, hanging signs over the highway, and a ban on flyers being distributed to homes overnight. Neighbors in one Antioch neighborhood say street racers are destroying their community.
When they come around the corner, we heard them squeal the tires, but then we heard the with the gun. And we almost went in the floor because I heard it hit my house.
A couple of bullets left holes in that man's home earlier this summer. Mailboxes and fences have been run down. He says Metro Nashville police have been called, but they don't respond. Many say they're ready to move out. And another big American company is rolling back its DEI initiatives. The beer company Molson Coors tells Fox Business it's going to do away with DEI training. It'll get rid of a program that forced suppliers to comply with diversity and will now tie its executive paychecks with performance rather than with what's called aspirational representation goals. Activist Robbie Starbuck has been successful at pushing companies like Tractor Supply and Ford Motor Company to do the same. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. It is Chris Hand here for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. You know Paul. I know Paul. He hosts the Investor Coaching Show here on WTN every Saturday from 3 to 6. And right now, you're probably trying to figure out what to do when it comes to your investments and your retirement planning. We have an election happening, and there's a lot of things that are up in the air. You got to have somebody in your corner that you trust. And the guys that I trust are over at Paul Winkler and Paul Winkler, Inc. Now, one of the things I love about Paul is he wants honesty. He wants transparency. He wants to practice what he preaches. And he wants me to tell you that I get paid to do these commercials. Where else do you hear that? But I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust these guys. They can break things down for me in a way that I can understand. As a guy who, when he started with Paul, was financially illiterate, they have really helped me understand what to do with my money, and they can do the exact same thing for you. And you can trust his team because they don't do anything on commission. Give Paul and his team a call to set up a complimentary consultation. I think you're going to learn more than you ever thought possible and get that clear picture of how they can help you. 615-851-1950. That's 615-851-1950. Online at paulwinkler.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
1037 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Thanks for asking. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. You can meet us September 10th, debate watch party. That's going to be fun. I don't know if you've ever watched a debate live with a live crowd that's been kicking a few back.
So energized.
It's awesome. It's
like,
awesome.
I think I said this a couple weeks ago. It's like a sporting event, but for our futures. And that is like the best way to look at it because there's so much energy for everybody rooting for the proper side. And you all get to enjoy it together.
Yeah.
You all get to enjoy it together.
Scoreboard, Cedar Creek, Mount Juliet. Brian Wilson's going to be out there at 3 o'clock starting his show live. And then myself, Mandis, Murphy, we're going to be there hanging out, broadcasting up until the point when the debate comes on. And then we get to watch it with you, which is my favorite part. So we want to see you there. Free to attend. And if you're a liberal, I can find you a VIP section. I will get a velvet rope and set you up somewhere safe.
Keep you in the tweet corner. I don't know. What would you call it? What would you call the liberal zone?
A cry room.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Weaver's in the building.
Welcome in, sir.
I've gotten a bunch of texts all morning long about where is Ken? Where is Ken? I said, he's coming. He's coming.
He'll be here.
I had to help a few old ladies across I-24 in Smyrna.
Goodness gracious.
I was a little delayed.
He's got a servant's heart, that Ken Weaver. The news is coming up at 11 o'clock. Glad he's here. Did I do the debate party? Yeah, we want to see you at the debate party.
Yeah.
Come to the debate party.
Get over here.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
This is the thing I love about our show. We get to experience the greatness of Joan, and then we also get Ken Weaver, award-winning Ken Weaver on our show.
The award-winning Ken Weaver.
Perfect timing.
I got great parents. They gave me a ribbon.
We are
First
blessed.
place.
The cup runneth over. All right, so I wanted to get to this Lex Friedman, Donald Trump, Epstein list clip. Okay? Donald Trump, during this interview, which Trump has just been doing these interviews all over the place, and he's reaching new voters everywhere. One of the things that RFK did really, really well when he launched his presidency was he wanted it to be the podcast campaign. Donald Trump has taken that to another level, and he's done it by doing interviews on Twitter Spaces with Elon, by doing the interview with Theo Vaughn. He did the live stream with Aiden Ross, and now he's doing this with Lex Friedman. And I think this is so important because these audiences are so different. Aiden Ross dominates Gen Z. Lex Friedman is a middle-of-the-road guy, super smart, independent. He's on record saying, I don't think Kamala is a communist, and I don't think Trump is a fascist. Like, he's got those voters. So it's great that he's doing these conversations. It's got almost 3 million views in less than a day since being posted. But the conversation comes up about the Epstein client list. And I'll be honest with you, Trump sounds uncomfortable talking about it. He really does.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately. But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island.
A lot of big people went to that island. He does sound a little nervous talking about this, doesn't he? Now, I'm on the record. I don't think Trump had anything to do with Epstein Island. In fact, it was 2012 or 2014. I'm blanking on the exact year. But during the original cases, when Epstein was being investigated, one of the attorneys for a victim of Epstein's said Donald Trump was the only guy that helped him. Donald Trump said, I'll give you as much time as you need. I'll tell you anything you need to know. And the attorney said, listen, not only was he the only guy that picked up the phone and offered to help, but he actually gave us real information that we could use in this case. So I don't think Donald Trump is in any way associated with the Epstein client list. But I do think it's a bit nerve-wracking because of the powerful people that are involved.
But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Now, I do find it interesting that he brings up Kennedy again. You know, he says with Kennedy, they say it endangers people. But we understand with the Kennedy assassination, all the people that were involved have passed on. So what it endangers with the Kennedy assassination is institutions, whereas what the Epstein list would endanger is actual people. And I think that that's a major difference in the two cases. But he says he'd be open to doing it. I believe him. Eric in Morristown wants to talk about this Trump-Lex Friedman interview. What's up, Eric?
Hey, good morning, man. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, real quick. This Lex Friedman, I used to subscribe to that cat, I don't know, a couple of years ago. You're talking about how he's middle of the road. He is painfully middle of the road, even when there's data sets in front of him. And this guy, like you're talking about the high-functioning autism, borderline, genius level. Yeah, that cat's smart. I believe he's an associate professor at MIT. Or might be a professor's assistant at MIT. I can't remember exactly. But here's another situation with him. His family are Russian Jewish immigrants to the United States from the former Soviet Union. So he's calling Kamala not a communist. I'm calling Bravo Sierra. I'm saying he's just saying that. He knows darn good and well what the communist history is of the Soviet Union and the Bolsheviks. It's in his family. I mean, a lot of his fellow podcasters that they cross-interview each other are also a Russian immigrants to the United States from the former Soviet Union. And if I'm not mistaken, one of them is from Ukraine. So he's got a little bit of I'm not going to say a slant. I found it suspect with him when he interviewed, what's his name, Francis Bowler, if I got his name correctly, from Pfizer during the heat of the pandemic. This guy wasn't doing interviews anywhere, but somehow Lex Friedman snags this cat. There's some...
You're kind of like leaning into is he being a little bit too coy? Is it controlled opposition? Is that where you're going with it?
Yeah, you can call it that, controlled opposition. Now he got President Trump. I mean, he's got some other big name cats, but I've stopped subscribing to him because all over the algorithms were just pushing everything that he was doing. It was like, this is kind of weird.
Well,
now,
but I do think with the Trump interview though, you do have to understand Trump is reaching a new audience of people that wouldn't have heard him otherwise.
100%. I'm glad his campaign's doing that. He was also interviewed by Sean Ryan of the Sean Ryan Show. Yep. There was an interview last week. We got several million hits on that. And Sean Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, is up there in Franklin. He's operating out of Franklin somewhere, outside of your neck of the woods. So that's one thing. Now the last thing I want to hit was you were talking about that previous liberal texter. I'm just going to call him a liberal texter guy, saying we're never going back. And you made the comment or retort that, hey, good low gas prices, good economy, low crime. Yep. Yeah, that's all fair and good. But what these people are not going back to, you got to peel back the epidermis there a little bit, get back down to the meat and potatoes of it. They're not going back to what's called white heteronormative thinking, the patriarchy. They could care less if this place burns down. They could care less if there's crime. Why? Because it's a party, it's an institution, institutional thought, if you will. Some call it collectivism. They're against, quote unquote, me. You, 99, dare I say 99% of the listeners, even if you're not, quote unquote, white, you still suck up to what's called the man. You're part of the problem. They don't care. So when they say we're not going back, they mean it.
Well, I mean, what did they say? What did they say about Larry Elder when he was running for governor of California? They called him the black face of white supremacy. So
yeah, I remember that.
You know what I mean?
Totally remember that.
It doesn't matter who you are, what skin color you are. Right. if you're against their values, they're gonna slander you as a white nationalist, bigot,
100%.
racist. That's just the game plan. That's what they do.
100%. They're being indoctrinated from kindergarten.
Yep.
If not pre-K right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some things going on. I appreciate the time, man. You have a great show, dude. I appreciate the opinions, man. I'll talk to you later, dude.
Hey, Eric, you're always welcome, and I appreciate you chiming in. You know, he says the what do you say, Bravo Sierra on Lex Friedman not calling Kamala a communist, which is interesting because Eric Weinstein. Do you know who Eric Weinstein is? Eric Weinstein is an investor. He's a finance guy. Went to University of Pennsylvania. Went to Harvard. Venture capital fund manager. Podcast host. All in all, smart guy. Was an RFK bro. He's since come over to voting for Trump since RFK endorsed Trump. And this is another one of those guys that I think is really important to have out there because he's got the middle of the road voice. And he went on a podcast, and he's on this podcast called Modern Wisdom. Have you ever seen Modern Wisdom? I've seen it a couple times. It's actually a pretty popular podcast. The other times that Eric Weinstein's been on, it's gotten like 3.5 million views. It always gets a lot of views. What Eric brings up on this podcast, Eric Weinstein, not Eric from Morristown, Eric Weinstein, is that Kamala is communist. And he says that she is communist right down to her slogan. The slogan that we've all heard a million times. I bet you could guess what slogan I'm talking about. The unburdened. Unburdened. Right? How many times have we heard her say it? We're unburdened by what has been. Right? We hear it all the time. She recycled it again the other day.
We have dreams. We can see what is possible, unburdened by what has been.
So I make fun of this all the time. Like, get a better script writer, right? But what Eric Weinstein says, that slogan is communist to the core. He says that is from Karl Marx.
Sometimes you hear certain phrases like a world to win. AOC uses the phrase, we have a world to win, which comes from the end of the Communist Manifesto, originally written in German. It was the name. I used to hang out in the Revolutionary Bookstore in Cambridge, Massachusetts with the communists because they print everything in every language. So if you're trying to learn multiple languages, they'll print the same text in all of these languages and you can compare. It basically says you have to wipe out what has been to arrive in the new.
And where's it from? What can be unburdened by what has been?
It's not a direct translation, but it occurs in Karl Marx. Now, I wasn't expecting this. I could find you the exact reference. If you think about what Mao had to do to wipe out Chinese history, what Pol Pot had to do, you're trying to wipe out memory because the memory has all of this burden. Why is it important to go after doctors and lawyers and teachers and professors?
Sounds familiar.
Because in some sense, they are going to resist the new order that you're about to impose. You're looking for a blank slate.
A blank slate. You don't want to be burdened by what has been. But I know what you're thinking, right? Kamala's an idiot. Kamala is so dumb. Well, they address that. And one of the things Eric Weinstein says is, well, Kamala's smarter than you're giving her credit for. I'll bring you this clip next. Hang out with us. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We're going to tell you just how many bullets hit a Middle Tennessee pastor's home overnight. Coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We were playing some clips from the Modern Wisdom podcast. Eric Weinstein was on it. Eric Weinstein is he's essentially, a lot of people call him a genius. Smart guy, venture capitalist, went to Harvard. He was an RFK bro. He was one of the RFK bros. And since RFK dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump, well, guys like Eric Weinstein have done the exact same thing. I wouldn't go so far as to call him like a Trump surrogate, but he's definitely supporting him. And one of the things that came up on the podcast was this phrase by Kamala Harris. You know the phrase. We all know the phrase. We must be unburdened by what has been. And Eric Weinstein goes in on it. He says it's actually paraphrasing Karl Marx. That phrase is communist to the core. And don't underestimate Kamala Harris. She's a lot smarter than you're giving her credit for. I know. I was shocked too. And then something crazy happened. I'm watching this podcast, and I find a clip of Vivek Ramaswamy saying the exact opposite, that she's not smarter than you think she is. She's actually a cog in the machine. Two smart guys, two very different opinions. What do you think? 615-737-9986. I'll bring you the relevant audio after Ken's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and I know we need some more rain, but Mother Nature is really finding favor with Middle Tennessee with these temperatures this week. Tell you about it during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, the bullet-riddled home of a Wilson County pastor is the subject of an investigation. Channel 4 says Global Vision Bible Church Pastor Greg Locke's home in Mount Juliet was hit by between 30 and 50 bullets overnight. Locke telling investigators he had returned home with his family, found his home had been shot at by a, quote, madman. The Wilson County Sheriff's Department says Locke's son was home at the time but was not injured. The governor of New York speaking out on a scandal involving a former aide charged with acting as a foreign Chinese agent to promote Chinese interests in Hochul's administration.
She was doing more proclamations and outreach to the community. She had no access to, documentation or security information at all, or cybersecurity. So there was a limit to it. On the other hand, it never should have happened.
Linda's son pled not guilty in a New York court this week. And right now in Middle Tennessee, Nashville comes in the top 50 most congested cities in the world, according to a recent traffic ranking. It measures how much time you're spending in traffic post-pandemic. Jim Ryan has the story.
The data analysis firm INRIX has looked at traffic patterns worldwide, finding that in most places, congestion is right where it was before the COVID-19 shutdowns. In this country, the average driver is spending 42 hours or a whole work week stuck in traffic every year. The New York urban area has it worst of all. Drivers there lose 101 hours a year to congestion.
Nashville loses 56 hours to congestion. Nashville ranks as the 39th most congested city in the world for traffic, 12th in the U.S., at a loss of $985 per person. Gaza war update. The U.S. Justice Department going after the mastermind behind the October 7th attack on Israel that started the whole thing.
The Department of Justice unsealing criminal charges filed against the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, and 5 others for the October 7th attack on Israel that killed nearly 1,200 and left 250 kidnapped. 40 Americans among the dead, and a dozen Americans taken hostage. Sinwar and his cohorts facing charges of executions, mass murders, sexual crimes, and abductions. Israel has vowed to kill Sinwar, but he's eluded the Israeli army in the vast tunnel network under Gaza.
Yeah, this move may bring some comfort to the families of victims, but they are not likely to see Sinwar show up in court with a defense lawyer. Few think he's going to survive the war. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Sometimes you hear certain phrases like a world to win. AOC uses the phrase, we have a world to win, which comes from the end of the Communist Manifesto, originally written in German. It was the name. I used to hang out in the Revolutionary Bookstore in Cambridge, Massachusetts with the communists because they print everything in every language. So if you're trying to learn multiple languages, they'll print the same text in all of these languages and you can compare. It basically says you have to wipe out what has been to arrive in the new.
And where's it from? What can be unburdened by what has been?
It's not a direct translation, but it occurs in Karl Marx. Now, I wasn't expecting this. I could find you the exact reference. If you think about what Mao had to do to wipe out Chinese history, what Pol Pot had to do, you're trying to wipe out memory because the memory has all of this burden. Why is it important to go after doctors and lawyers and teachers and professors?
Sounds familiar.
Because in some sense, they are going to resist the new order that you're about to impose. You're looking for a blank slate.
That's Eric Weinstein on the Modern Wisdom podcast. Have you heard of the Modern Wisdom podcast? It's pretty popular. Eric Weinstein is a venture capitalist. He's a podcast host, went to Harvard, smart guy, was an RFK bro. Since RFK endorsed Trump, he's come along. But he's talking about that phrase that we've heard over and over and over, Kamala Harris. We have to be unburdened by what has been. You've heard it. We've all heard it. I mean, she repeats it ad nauseum. Is Kamala a commie deep down? Is she just a radical Marxist? Or is she just an idiot, a cog in the machine? Right? That's what we all think quite a bit. She's just dumb. She's just dumb. How can she be this rabid Marxist if she's just an idiot? Well, the host of Modern Wisdom asked that.
If Kamala Harris is as unsophisticated as we think she is, do we really believe that she is quoting from the dark depths of...
Why do you believe she is as unsophisticated as you have just claimed? What did her father do?
I don't know.
Look it up.
Yeah, that's not the right answer. I don't know is not the right answer. Eric Weinstein brings up Kamala Harris's dad. You'll notice you may recall during the DNC, when they're giving the long story about Kamala's upbringing, somebody that wasn't mentioned really at all was her father, Donald Harris. According to The Economist, Donald Harris is a retired Stanford University professor of economics, and his econ background is steeped in Marxist theory. It actually earned him the description from The Economist last month as a combative Marxist economist. That's how The Economist described him. They wrote, he's a clear writer. There are a few compound nouns or sentences that run for paragraphs, yet he's still a Marxist, and his writings are sprinkled with obscurantist theorizing. Republicans who have mocked Miss Harris for word salad speeches will find precedent in her father's writings. The Economist wrote of Harris's father. He's a Marxist. That's how she was raised. And Weinstein goes on to say, listen, she's a lot smarter than what you're giving her credit for.
Kamala's a lot smarter than you're giving her credit for.
I mean, this is your point about how many levels through it do you go. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one.
Yeah.
But in order to be able to do the Ukraine is a country, it is a small country, Russia is a big country, they are a bigger country, this is bad, time is all around us. In order to be able to do that self-referentially, with agency, knowing what you're doing, the metacognition to be able to do that and play a role, to me seems, that's like 200 IQ stuff to be able to do that.
I don't think so. I think it's 130 IQ stuff. I think you could do it better than you think.
So he says she's not. Don't get ahead of yourself. She's not that smart, but she's smarter than you're giving her credit for, and maybe she is. And personally, I think that we should operate from that standpoint. Never underestimate your enemies, right? I don't think that she's underestimating Donald Trump as much as mainstream media would want you to believe. I don't think she's going to underestimate Donald Trump, and I don't think we should underestimate her. But he says, how could she put on this act and act so dumb and play this character if it's not real? You know, she would have to be a high-level genius. He says, nah, it's not that hard. And then he says something that I've said for years, which I think is one of the biggest takeaways from this interview between Eric Weinstein and the Modern Wisdom podcast. Politics is WWF. It's WWF. This is what we're watching. We're watching characters on a screen. And what's happening behind the scenes is far more interesting than what's being played out on our TV.
You're looking at characters. This is why I wrote the 2011 kayfabe essay, because you're looking at professional wrestling. Do you imagine that the Iron Sheik, who is the Iron Sheik? Who is Triple H? Who is the Undertaker? Do you think he actually works in a mortuary? These are characters. George W. Bush, as a debater in Texas for the governorship, was really, really smart.
It's a great point.
And suddenly he got real dumb and folksy. And do you imagine he actually says nuclear? He knows it's nuclear. I would learn to say nuclear. I could say nuclear. I got to be careful with that nuclear physics. And I can get Democrats to correct me and look like assholes every time. There's an old FDR line, which is nothing in politics happens by accident. Don't get taken in at level 1.
Don't get taken in at level 1. Nothing's happening by accident. Everything on the screen is there as a distraction. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes. I think we can agree with a lot of what he said there. A lot of it. So, is she an idiot or is she brilliant? Is she a rabid Marxist or is she just a useful idiot? I think that's the question. I think that for our own sake, we need to be operating under the assumption that she's a genius, right? I know that might sound crazy, but you don't want to underestimate her. Vivek Ramaswamy, he takes a completely different direction. He says that Biden and Harris, they're not commies via ideology. They're just cogs in the machine, point blank.
The hard reality in American politics today is the people we elect to run the government, they're not even the ones actually running the government. It's the puppet masters underneath and around them, unelected bureaucrats and the managerial class. And so in some ways, I do think it's to give Kamala Harris too much credit when we say she's a communist or a socialist. That gives her too much credit because I don't particularly think that she has an ideology at all. She's another cog in the system.
Is she a cog in the system or is she a rabid Marxist? 615-737-9986. I want you to call in and tell me what you think. Stephen in Paris on Kamala Harris. Do you think that she is a genius or a useful idiot?
Well, there's no question with all the word salad we've been getting from her. She can't, the way she tries to stand up in front of anybody and talk about something, she just keeps looping back around and saying the same thing over. I don't think that has anything to do with anxiety. I think she's used the race card all throughout her career from the beginning all the way up to she even used it against Joe Biden.
Yep.
I think in a sense she's living the wrong idea. She's living the wrong dream. She is part of the deep state. She's been a part of it. She's just been riding everybody's coattails the whole way. And, I think that anybody that's going to be a leader of any country, especially our country, leaders are meant to be. There's always been leaders. There's always been followers ever since the beginning of time. So some people are meant to lead. Some people are meant to follow. All these people are followers. Not just a cognitive test she needs to take. I think she should also take an IQ test because even if she's smart enough to become a prosecutor, which she went to school for and studied and learned that method, she's definitely not smart enough to be the president of our country or any president of any country in that matter.
I appreciate the call, Kevin. Thanks so much. It seems like Kevin is more on the Vivek Ramaswamy side of things. Useful idiots.
We're not running against a candidate. We are running against a machine. And when Donald Trump said in 2016 he wanted to go in and drain the swamp, what it means is we want to go in and dismantle that machine. So we have self-governance again in this country. Biden's cognitive deficits, Kamala's policy deficits, those are not a bug. Those are a feature for the people who actually manage them. That's the sad state of American democracy today, Jesse, and I think the more we see that, the more likely we are to succeed.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. They're useful idiots, according to Vivek Ramaswamy. Eric Weinstein, on the flip side, says don't underestimate Kamala Harris. I think it's a safer position to take that we don't underestimate her. But then you hear her talk, and you have to ask yourself, is she just a useful idiot? A couple people on the Members Nutrition text line are saying, well, she can be both. Ray said, can't she be both? I guess she could be both. Kevin in Nashville, Kamala Harris, useful idiot or underrated genius?
She's a useful idiot. And I say that in the sense that she's out of her depth, really. And she's going to have to be told what to do, or it's going to have to be given to her as to what she needs to do. But
so you don't think that could be an act? You don't think that it could be like this ditzy kind of like, oh, I don't know, let's be unburdened. No,
because she's been doing it for too long. You can't just keep that kind of stuff up. Not for that long a period of time. She's been at this for a long time. So it's not that. I just think she's a useful idiot that advance the ball down the road. She's going to finish the job that Joe Biden was working on. Because I see it like this. Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum had said he's known Joe Biden for 20 years. He's the guy that advanced the ball down the road for him. Joe didn't get to finish because they didn't count on his brain breaking down. But Kamala's going to do it because she has to be told, because she's out of her depth. And the next phrase that's going to be coming along is stakeholder capitalism, because they can't sell communism. This sounds much better. And the next phrase is Biden's phrase will come back because he got it from the World Economic Forum. They're going to finish wrecking the place, and then they're going to build it back better.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Kevin. Thanks so much. Let's go to Mark on the road. Kamala Harris, cog in the machine or underrated genius?
Cog in the machine.
Cog in the machine. Tell me why, Mark.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Tell me why you think that, Mark.
Well, it's Kamala Harris is not the problem. She's just the forefront that they put front. The problem is the whole machine in D.C. and the Democrats are worse than the Republicans in this case, where Trump was fighting his own party the first go around. So it's the whole machine in total that we have to fight against.
Yeah, I hear you, Mark, and I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in on this. I see a couple people waiting on the line to get through. I also want to play a clip from this Modern Wisdom podcast with Eric Weinstein where they talk about why they can't let Trump be president. We'll do that on the way. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I got to tell you about my friends at Kingdom Fence Company. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you see their nice shiny logo on the bottom of the screen. These guys are the best. They want their fence to tell the story of your land. Any kind of fence you may need, they handle it. Residential, commercial, farm, agricultural, chain, privacy, vinyl, aluminum. They got it all, and they got it all at a great price. 615-390-5891. That's 615-390-5891. Online at kingdomfencecompanyllc.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
shots fired, casualties are reported. A high school is on lockdown. We've got the full story at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. We're talking about Kamala Harris. There was an interview on the Modern Wisdom podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a lot of people watch. I mean, it's got almost 5 million subscribers on YouTube. Definitely different conversations that they have. String theory, simulation theory, all sorts of wild stuff. It's a good watch. It's a good watch. Eric Weinstein was on the Modern Wisdom podcast, and they started talking about a myriad of things, including Kamala Harris's phrase, burdened by what has been. And he says that's communist at its core. Commie at its core. And he says, don't underestimate Kamala Harris.
If Kamala Harris is as unsophisticated as we think she is, do we really believe that she is quoting from the dark depths of...
Why do you believe she is as unsophisticated as you have just claimed? What did her father do?
I don't know.
Look it up.
Her father, rabid Marxist. This is why he wasn't mentioned much at the DNC. So is she a useful idiot? Or is she a lot smarter than she's letting on? Our friend Steve over at Heartland Journal is on the line. What's up, Steve? Yo, Steve, what's up, man?
Hey, you talking to me?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, how are you, Chris?
I'm good. What's up?
I'm just recovering. Feeling down from home. Anyway, I was just been wanting to talk about this. And I'm going to also talk about the Kamala thing. But they were all talking about having a squad.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to put you back on hold real quick, man. I'm having trouble hearing you with your radio up in the background. We'll come right back to you. Let's go to Dorothy in Alabama. Dorothy, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dorothy?
Hey, Kamala. Yeah, useful. You remember Obama made a comment. He said, "We're going to help her to do this." She's another puppeteer. She's what they want, like Biden, someone that can be controlled at the party and be told what to do, what to say. This stuff about how she's turning on different accents, speak with different people. That's all a sense up there. I'm not sure where that would be coming from with her. That's her. That shows her really right there. And you're going to talk about Trump, about somebody, maybe not being able to work with him. Yeah, he's not in anyone's pocket. And when he was president, and he went to one of those Bilderberger meetings, the people that decide how the world and everything runs, and they're really globalist and what I call GFers, coach. But there were some talk that some people were saying, we're not going to be able to work with him. The globalists there. These meetings that happen occasionally, and no press is allowed. It's very.
Oh, I'm familiar. I know exactly which speech you're talking about. Yeah. No, yeah. I'm very familiar, and I think you're right. They don't want to work with him, and I appreciate the call, Dorothy. And actually, Eric Weinstein brought this up on the podcast. Many people don't think Trump can be president. Not that they don't think he can win. They don't think he can because it would hurt their interests. That's what it's about. How it affects them, not the American people.
I believe that there are many people in Washington, D.C. who think that Donald Trump cannot become president because he can now go for broke. He's also not going to try to run for re-election. He's relatively unconstrained. He's wealthy. He's learned how to play a lot of these games.
And maybe got a little bit of an axe to grind as well after the last 6 years.
No kidding.
It's funny. He says, this is why people in D.C. don't want Trump to be president. And then he lists all the reasons why I want Trump to be president. It checks out. He doesn't have a second term to worry about. He's unconstrained. He's got an axe to grind. Yeah, this is actually why I want the guy.
and he's a wild card. You know, there are three people who are doing amazing versions of the drunken boxing game. Kanye, who's probably the first one to really fail, Elon, and Donald Trump. And all three of them tried to do something where you couldn't pin them down. You couldn't figure out like what they were going to do next.
No, and that's what scares them. That's what scares the swamp in D.C. That's what scares the globalists around the world. You don't know what he's going to do next. It's terrifying. On the flip side, we can probably accurately predict what Kamala is going to do next. I don't want to underestimate her. I do want to make fun of her, but I don't want to underestimate her. And Peter Doocy asked Karine Jean-Pierre a question about the accent that gets turned on and gets turned off. I'll bring you that question next. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes, but right now in Georgia, we're monitoring a massive police presence because of a shooting at a high school, Appalachia High School in Barrow County. It's about 45 miles outside of Atlanta. The sheriff's department there reporting casualties are involved. A suspect is in custody. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has said he's directed all available state resources to respond. Here in Middle Tennessee, the Wilson County Sheriff's Department says the home of Global Vision Bible Church Pastor Greg Locke was targeted by gunfire overnight. News 2 says Locke told deputies he arrived home last night with his family, saw bullet holes. Investigators confirm Locke's home was hit by between 30 and 50 bullets. Locke's son was home at the time, but was not injured. Money news, Jim Ryan is watching Wall Street.
Investors have been working to regain some of yesterday's heavy losses. The Dow Jones this morning was up 120 points and back above 41,000. The S&P and NASDAQ had each clawed back about 1.5% on the day. Volvo is no longer targeting 2030 as the year it'll offer only electric vehicles. The Swedish automaker cites changing market conditions and customer demand. Volvo has adjusted its EV target to 90% of its vehicles by 2030. With the summer driving season now in the rearview mirror, gasoline futures are sliding, down nearly 6%. Oil futures have fallen below $70, their lowest since December. New calls have gone up for an investigation into two of the biggest discount online retailers. Two commissioners from the Consumer Product Safety Commission are calling for a probe into Temu and Shein after potentially dangerous baby and toddler products were found on both sites.
All right, checking stocks right now. The Dow is up 52. The S&P is up 5. The NASDAQ is up 34. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Thank them. Thank them. And we thank you for the accent. That was Kamala Harris in Detroit. You know, it's weird. She didn't have the same accent in Pittsburgh when she delivered the exact same line.
Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
Yeah, she sounded normal there. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 1137. And that is that's been taking the internet by storm. The accent. What's up with the accent? Why does she turn it on in some neighborhoods, but she turns it off in others? But we have our ideas. I think that she's pandering at an extreme level that we haven't seen since Hillary had hot sauce in her purse.
I do declare.
She goes full foghorn leghorn. But only when she's in front of a black audience. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Strange. Peter Doocy asked Karine Jean-Pierre about this at the press briefing yesterday. They don't have many press briefings as much as they used to, right? It seems like it's slowed down a lot. But Doocy finally was able to ask a question that's been on everybody's mind. What is going on with the accent?
Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you have no idea what he's talking about? No idea. Like, none. You've never heard this before. This is news. This is news to KJP. Of course she's lying. Anybody with Twitter. And I would imagine that the algorithm would suggest this for Karine Jean-Pierre because she's, involved in politics. I would imagine that she's seen these videos. But she says, I have no idea. I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
she was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Yep, she was. This is Kamala Harris in Detroit using that one tone.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave.
So she's using one tone of voice in Detroit. So why didn't she use that everywhere?
Is this something that you
Same
think?
line
Okay, Peter.
that she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question?
Yes. Yes, I do think it's an important question. It goes to the whole chameleon Kamala. It goes to what we've been talking about. Is she a useful idiot, or is she a dangerous genius? I don't know. I tend to think this is more useful idiot. Do you think Americans care about? I do. I actually do think Americans care about pandering. This is why I think that Donald Trump was brilliant for going to the National Black Association of Journalists, the NBJA, something like that, National Black Journalists Association. But when he made the comment, "Oh, I didn't know she was black. I didn't know that. I thought she was Indian. She didn't decide to be black until a long time ago." Yeah, I do think Americans care about her being a chameleon depending on the situation and pandering.
Do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care. You know what they care about? They care about the economy.
Yep.
They care about lowering costs. They care about health care.
Yeah, but Kamala hasn't done any of those things. She's just on the campaign trail pandering.
That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about. Your colleague just asked me about what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom.
Oh yeah, that's what the people want. Give them more democracy and freedom. Your colleague just asked me about freedom. That's what we need to be talking about up here: democracy and freedom. Not whether or not a candidate has been pandering at extreme levels. Pete, what are you doing? What do you mean? Unreal. Oh, you should be asking me about the economy. It's been ruined under Harris. You should be asking me about lowering costs. So they've gone up under Harris. We should be talking about freedom. Okay.
They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about. Your colleague just asked me about what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom.
Freedom.
That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president. It's just hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, that's the problem. We keep hearing it, and it sounds ridiculous. I think that's the problem. When we hear this,
You better thank a union member for sick leave.
we think it's ridiculous, KJP, and that's why they're asking you about it.
It's just hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is...
The question I'm talking about, the questions is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings?
I'm just...
Is that how she talks in meetings? Is that how she addresses the staff?
You better thank a union member for paid leave.
You better thank Kamala for approving your PTO. Is that how she talks in meetings?
You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Allegedly.
Is that how she talks? Is that how she talks in meetings?
The question I'm talking about, the questions is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings?
I'm just Peter. We're moving on. We're so moving around. Go ahead, Anita.
She can't answer the question because she understands that. She's pandering at extreme levels.
Yeah, she can't say that she does that in meetings because she goes through 5 accents in one meeting.
There's meetings to try out the accents, actually.
All right, wait. I came up with this new one. All right, guys, listen.
Hold on. Let's try my Midwestern folksy accent.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Is she smarter than we're giving her credit for? Are we underestimating her? I don't know. I don't want to underestimate her, but it's so hard when you hear her speak.
Yeah, she's really playing into it.
You better thank a union member for sick leave.
Yeah.
Thank a union member.
Sick leave. Like her voice trembles there at the end.
For sick leave, you
Leave.
It's a little forced.
Yeah.
Sounds a little forced.
Yeah. So is she a useful idiot? Is she a scary genius? I don't know if we're going to find out. I hope we don't. I think that we need to operate from a position of not underestimating her. I do. I think that's the safest route to go. You don't want to underestimate your enemies, right? But gosh, it's hard not to when you hear her talking.
better thank a union member for paid leave.
It's hard. It's hard not to. It's hard not to. I do know that we shouldn't underestimate the Democrats. Okay? We shouldn't underestimate the Democrats one bit. While all this is going on, and it's funny, and we can talk about it, they're actively trying to keep RFK on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin. It looks like they're going to be able to keep him on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin. Pivotal battleground states, states where Donald Trump has a real shot. But they're keeping him on the ballot because they don't want RFK bros to go over to Donald J. Trump. That's what it's about. RFK was on with Fox News, and he's talking about the irony here, how they didn't want him on the ballot, and now they don't want him off.
You're off the ballot in Georgia, which you weren't on, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, but you're still on the ballot in Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. It's possible when you look at the polls that you still being on those ballots could have a meaningful impact on the outcome of this election. What do you say about that?
I mean, we're trying to get off the ballots in all the states. And I'm getting a bad echo while I'm talking to you.
I'm sorry. We'll try to get rid of that. Sorry about that.
But we're trying to get off the ballot in all the states where I might be a spoiler and cause harm to President Trump. The irony right now is that the DNC, which has been trying to keep me off the ballot, is now suing to keep me on the ballot.
Yes, that is ironic.
In many of the states that were.
Do you see that as manipulative on their part in terms of what they want the outcome to be?
I can't hear you because of the echo.
So they're having audio quality, but the irony is that they didn't want him on the ballot. Now they don't want him off the ballot. And he finally does get around to answering the question. He says, this is very undemocratic of the DNC.
Well, I think the DNC is doing something that is essentially and fundamentally undemocratic. I mean, when I grew up in a Democratic Party that was the party of Robert Kennedy, of John Kennedy, that was trying to make sure that every American had the right to vote for whoever they wanted to vote for. There's been 1 million Americans who've signed petitions asking to put me on the ballot. We've complied with every signature requirement, and the Democratic Party doesn't seem to have the kind of confidence in its nominees to actually go out and amplify their voices, and instead is using lawfare to keep opposing candidates like me and Jill Stein and
Sir, I'm going to have to jump in, and I do apologize for the audio problem and for the late start with you, and I hope you'll join us again because there's a lot I wanted to talk to you about, but I'm up against the end of the hour here, sir. Thank you for your patience today.
All right, so they cut him off, but the DNC is being undemocratic. My big takeaway from the close of that is, gosh, Paul Ryan's Fox News. Am I right? Paul Ryan really hates Donald Trump. They had an interview with Mike Pence on earlier the same day. They didn't keep Mike Pence waiting. They didn't have audio issues with Mike Pence. They didn't cut Mike Pence off early when he said that he couldn't endorse Donald J. Trump. Yet they keep RFK waiting. They have mysterious audio issues, and then they cut him off right before the end. Why? The American people do want to hear from RFK Jr. Fox News can't help itself. At its core, they hate Donald Trump. And it's on full display right there. You make RFK Jr. wait to get on the air, and then you cut him off? If we had RFK Jr. on, I would say commercials be damned. We'll make them up later. If he's willing to have the conversation, you should keep going. What are they doing? Terrible decision-making over there at Fox. And again, I can only assume It's because the hatred for Donald J. Trump runs so deep, right up to the board with Paul Ryan. It's just crazy. Even news outlets that seem to be on our side, they're not really on our side. That's prime evidence right there. We're going to check in with Matt Murphy next, see what's coming up on Murphy's Show today. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by Matt Murphy, who is adjusting his camera settings.
Because nobody's helping you out in the morning on the Gang of Four Amigos.
What was wrong?
I expect more from Joan Jones, whose name I did not have to write down to remember. Unlike Dan Mandis. No, I was watching on the old YouTube channel, Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and it was cutting you off. And I was like, man, oh man, what? Somebody needs to help Hand out there.
But you didn't send a text.
I didn't want to disturb you. Y'all were on a roll.
What's up, dude?
What's going on?
What are the hot takes that are in store for today? Give me your hottest take.
That Donald Trump is absolutely wrong that insurance companies should cover IVF.
All right.
I don't believe that the government should involve itself in private contractual relationships between businesses and consumers. I think the government has done that far too much in the medical and health insurance industry, which has led us to where we are today. Now, I understand why Trump's doing it. Don't get me wrong. And, this is not me cutting it off. We can disagree on certain policy positions that our presidential candidate has and still be friends.
Yeah. And the opposite's true, too. We can agree with certain people and still be enemies.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Like, I agreed when Joe Biden said that he wasn't going to run for president anymore. And I'm still enemies with the guy. So.
Do you worry that we're underestimating Kamala Harris? Is she a useful idiot or is she an underrated genius?
There's zero. In my mind, there's very little chance. I almost said 0.0. I don't think it's that much. I do not believe that Kamala Harris is a genius, underrated, overrated, or otherwise. I don't think that she's a very smart human being. I think if she was smart, then why did she so woefully what is it all part of her master plan to get destroyed in 2019 in the presidential? I mean, was that part of the master plan? Was it a part of the master plan to latch on with some old man knowing that he would be feeble enough?
I actually think that was part of the master plan.
I don't think that's part of the master plan at all.
I feel like in 2019,
I think she's a moron she's Forrest Gump.
Maybe. But in 2019, you do have to admit that she was the choice. Before Tulsi Gabbard messed it up. She checked all the boxes.
She was never the choice for any of the voters whatsoever in
I
any
didn't mean
poll.
the voters. I meant the powers that be. She was who they wanted. And then they did. They globbed her onto Joe Biden because they thought we can get her into the White House without any votes.
I don't believe any of that.
You don't think so?
I don't believe any of that.
That's how
I don't believe that the team, whoever they is, like Team Obama.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
The advisor class.
I think they wanted her to be that, but they recognized that she was too dumb to be that. Now, Barack Obama, there's a smart cookie. He's a smart, evil person. And I get that, but I don't think it's common. Maybe 10 years from now, I was wrong. I'm in the gulag. I don't know.
If you're in the gulag, the messages won't be received. Murphy's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.